Green Party person so that the Red Party person doesn't get in.
And
they
the
didn't.
Red Party person might be closer to their ideology than Green
the
Party.
problem is that people still worry about that RD GLI at the end of the name. And Democrats are not going to vote for somebody that doesn't have a D. And Republicans are not going to vote for anybody that doesn't have an R.
Which is so
some do.
fucking stupid.
Okay, we know that some people voted for us who wouldn't normally have voted for us because they were Republicans, but they did anyway. So you're going to have some people that will say, you know, these persons are real. They're actually average people. We'll vote for them regardless of party. But for the most part, your average voters these days, thanks to media and social media and everything else, won't vote for somebody that's not the same party. So would it have been better
and
to
that
take
goes
the
under
Republican
what
out?
I had said.
Yeah, it
Yes,
would
it
have
would
been
have, if
better
that's
to
what
take
their
the
goal was.
Republican out and have a Green Party a Green Party representative and a Democratic representative. But that's not part of the playbook. So it doesn't happen.
But
And
remember,
that's one
the
of the things
voter
that's gotta
does
change.
not have access to the playbook.
No, but the voter does have access to social media and to the Fox News and MSNBC and
But
blah,
they
blah,
don't
blah.
look. They look at Twitter and they complain
Yeah.
about who's doing what, and
Right.
they watch Saturday Night Live instead of the actual debate.
And you know, I don't condone it, but
Saturday Night Live is more accurate.
I don't condone it, but I do understand
It's-
why Democrats vote party line or Republicans vote party line. And like I said, I don't agree with this, but I understand it because it's politics is kind of like a religion. You're going to kind of align yourself with whomever you think kind of has the closest to your ideology. I totally get that, but I think it's a really rigid system, and we need to try to kind of break out of that because it should be about the fucking issues and not about the goddamn politics.
Well, it should be about what's best for everyone as opposed to what's best for our ideology or their ideology or whatnot.
Say it's education. It should be what's best for, I don't know, the education system,
students?
the fucking kids, the teachers, not the goddamn people that are
Making money
profiting
off of
it.
yeah.
I mean, it's just so corrupt.
But at the end of the day, even if you're doing that and you only have one candidate and there's two positions, you want to vote the other person out. When it comes to the presidency, people will vote for the lesser of two evils. Even if they don't like the Republican or the Democrat, they will vote one way rather than going third party. But when it comes to local politics, they won't do the same thing. And that's what I'm talking about with 18 or even my district. I should have had every single Republican vote just because they would say to themselves, if
It's
I
not
don't vote for
Democrat.
her, I'm going to get them. It's
Right.
not exactly.
Yeah.
So they won't vote against it in smaller elections. They just bypass it and vote for fucking Harambe. So, now why don't we talk about the event? Because that turned out to be a big old huge situation.
When you say event, I'm assuming you're talking about the polls, the night of the polls. Okay.
Yes,
Nice
I am.
play on
All right.
words
For
there.
those of you that weren't aware of what was happening, during the last election cycle, one of the gentlemen's clubs, we'll say that, strip club for those of you that are like us, decided they wanted to hold an event and invite candidates to come meet the people that were at their
a voter outreach.
a voter outreach.
No, some of the puns intended.
Okay. Yeah. There was a little outreaching in there. But anyway, so the whole idea was that this club, the person who owns the club is very active in government and politics because of her work in anti-sex trafficking. Wanted to have an event to invite all legislators in the East Valley to come and interact with voters at her establishment. And there was 5 of us.
Oh, candidate.
Yeah, all the candidates. So all of the candidates were invited. Republicans, Democrats, Green Party, Libertarians, everyone in the East Valley was invited, supposedly. There was 5 of us that showed up. Okay, we had 2 congressional candidates show up. 3 legislative candidates showed up, and I think we actually had an actual school board person No. Did she show up or not? I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to get her in trouble.
We actually had one person who ran in Tempe for something at one point, but he was not currently in office.
Oh, that would be the, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Okay. I don't want to mention names because other people, I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, so.
There's some people that showed up in support but don't necessarily want
yeah,
to be
there was
labeled.
She Who Must Not Be Named.
Mrs. Voldemort.
Yeah, Mrs. Voldemort from the East Valley, who was very instrumental in some of our stuff.
Yes, totally.
So we all showed up. It was the three of us, plus 2 congressional candidates that showed up for this event, and it was at a gentleman's club. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means that there's boobs hanging out and there's dancing and stuff like that.
And there's alcohol.
There was alcohol, there was food, etc.
Oh, there was some cake too.
Yeah, there was. And we actually had a good time.
But let's line this out. It wasn't tacky. We were not out on the floor. We weren't, meeting out within everyone. We were separated into a room
separated
so that
from
people
the
who
actual
wanted to come
dance floor.
speak with us could.
Yeah. We were separated from the dance floor.
We were in the, what do you call it?
Candidates were in the champagne
room, yeah.
And anybody that wanted to come talk to us could. It wasn't like we were out there politicking. We were all sitting in one room, and if they wanted to come talk to us, they did, which was very effective. We had some really interesting conversations happening with people that worked at the establishment, with guests at the establishment, etc. It wasn't an all-inclusive thing. It was a lot of fun. Now, leading up to that, if we want to talk about it, we had the day that we were both on the news. You and I were on the news. Carol Wifey and I were on the news with Talia Fuentes at the actual club. We did an interview with Channel, was it 10 or 5?
You were 5.
No.
You were 5. I was
it was
10.
Okay, so you were 10, we were 5. So we had the interview with Channel 5. And then, of course, you were with Channel 10, and I think Mike Weiser, congressional candidate for CD4, was also with that channel. We got some blowback. We actually had people that called, and they didn't call us, but they contacted our campaign group and said that they had heard that there was going to be some filings against us for using clean election money for a strip club. Turned out that it seemed to be more of one of those things where they were trying to dissuade us from participating because they felt offended that we would do something like that.
Party.
We contacted the people that supposedly contacted others, saying that there was going to be backlash, and it turned out to be bullshit. And that's one of the things that was bad about this whole event was we had our own party trying to dissuade us from reaching out to voters.
One candidate in your party was threatened.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
Remember?
Well, we weren't because they don't like us anyway.
And that candidate basically voiced that and said that they did not want to be in any photos, and we respected that, but we respected the fact that they actually
showed
anyway.
up,
even though they were
She wasn't
skittish.
a candidate. Yeah. She wasn't a candidate, but at that point in time, she was an employee. So she was specifically told not to, and that's where the whole "she shall not be named" came up.
There's that whole democracy thing. Oh, you better not do that.
Yeah,
we don't agree with
yeah,
that. What the
exactly.
fuck?
Yeah, and that's one.
Now
of the
remember
things.
what happened afterwards.
Which part?
We probably shouldn't talk about that, Carol. We'll get offline later and talk about it again. Sorry.
Well, just afterwards, as far as my what I had received, politically, there was not a ton of it, but there was a lot of people that believed it was tacky, that believed it shouldn't have been done, and that happened with you guys as well. I believe that people were saying that it was a stunt, and the reality is it was not a stunt. It was to recognize that everyone has a voice and everyone has the ability to vote, provided they're legally able to, and everyone, regardless of where they spend their time or money, should get out there and vote, and that was the whole purpose.
Right.
I guarantee you, if we would have had that event at a fucking church, nobody would have had any fucking issue with that. Even
Well,
though there's
of course
supposed
not.
to be a separation of church and state. But anyway, beside that, if it would have been something more pure than a strip club, these are people with jobs that pay taxes and vote. What is the fucking problem?
Well, it's all about
If it had been done at a McDonald's, which is a huge corporation in this country
Well, they're a
that makes a
corporation,
lot
so
of
yeah.
money, right, then it would have been seen as acceptable as well. But
Next time
because
we're
it was
gonna-
done at a strip club, it was seen as being wrong or a
Right.
stunt.
yeah.
And I thought that was kind of sad.
Yeah, I agree because, we need to reach out to everyone that needs to be representative or be represented. I can't talk now. Represented. And by not reaching out to people who go to a strip club or to an adult store or that may play paintball or play at the skating rink, regardless of what the venue is, if we refuse to interact with those people because we disagree, then we really aren't ready to represent everyone
Right.
in the district. And that's the
It's
problem
like
with
saying
politics
they
these
don't
days.
matter.
Right. You're
Marginalizing them.
right. And that was one of the things too. I was looking at a Facebook post where it talked about the whole idea that we are in a Christian nation. And well, no, the whole idea was that, okay, here's what our founding fathers said about church and state, blah blah blah, and that's, you have a high percentage of Christians in our country. That doesn't necessarily make our nation a Christian nation. That just means that a certain population of the nation believes in Christianity. But by saying this is a Christian nation, it's meant specifically to demoralize and remove those that aren't Christian from the process. Okay, and it's the same thing with the strip club thing. Okay, don't go there because it's going to be an embarrassment. Well, it's not going to be embarrassment. It's business. Okay, these are business owners in our district that have a legitimate business, whether you like it or not, and deserve to be represented. And for those that are supposed to be representing that refuse to go to a place like that, they obviously don't care about representing the people.
All you people that are talking about, ooh, I have a hard-on for the Constitution. All right, then. You know that they have a right to do what they want to do.
Well, it's just about representation. If you don't want to represent somebody that goes to a strip club, then you're not ready to be a representative of the people in that district. Because the people
Exactly.
the people that go to the strip club are in your district.
Yeah.
They're registered voters. You're supposed to represent them. And that was, I think, one of the things that we really wanted to show was that we were ready to represent people regardless of, well, I can't say that because we actually kind of like going to strip clubs. But the idea is I will go to a church and I will say, yes, I will represent you to the best of my ability because you are a constituent, regardless of whether I believe in your mythology or not. We don't have that anymore. We don't have that. We have such strict ideological
Ideological?
differences. Boy, it's just a hard word to say on Friday night. Differences that we can't get past that anymore. We have evangelical people representing us at the Capitol who obviously don't understand that there's a population or a percentage of the population that's not evangelical that needs to be represented as well. Yet they don't do it.
They don't care. They only care
Well, I
about
understand
Exactly.
that. But our point by doing the event at the strip club was to show that we are willing to represent anyone in our district, regardless of whether we agree or disagree with what they believe. And that was the moment
Exactly.
or the point that was completely lost by the media, that was completely lost by the people, that was completely lost by everything. except for those of us that went there knowing exactly why we were going there.
That's kind of like
was
the
a sad
whole
thing.
thing a lawyer tries to do. You know what? It doesn't matter whether you did it or not, whether I believe you did it or not. I'm just basically trying to represent your